Most people believe that if they follow the rules, if they cut out the sweets, take their metformin like clockwork, and walk every single evening, their blood sugar numbers should behave. You wake up, you reach for that monitor with a bit of hope, and then that cold, paralyzing shiver of frustration hits you. The number is 170 or 185. Sometimes it even breaks 200. You look at your log and you think, I did everything perfectly. I had chicken and vegetables for dinner. I haven't touched a piece of bread in weeks. Why is my body betraying me? I'm Dr. Lucia Herrera, and in my years specializing in endocrine health at Salud Endocrina Integral, I've seen this exact look of defeat in the eyes of thousands of patients over 60. They are exhausted, not just physically, but with a deeper weariness that comes from fighting a battle where the rules seem to change every night while they are asleep. Today, I am going to reveal a night habit that is likely sabotaging your metabolic health. It's something so fundamental, so simple, that most doctors miss it entirely during your 8-minute consultation. It isn't about what you are eating for dinner, and it isn't about your medication dosage. It's about a biological silence, a state of internal drought that is turning your cell membranes into rigid walls that insulin simply cannot penetrate. By the end of this video, you will understand the forensic reason why your blood sugar spikes while you sleep, and I will give you a specific 3-step strategic protocol, the same one I give my private patients, to flip your metabolic switch back on in as little as 10 days. The biological reality, why 60 changes the rules. Before we talk about the habit, you must understand the why. Your body at 65 or 75 is not a slightly older version of your 40-year-old self. It is a fragile machine where every choice carries magnified consequences. When you pass the age of 60, your body undergoes 4 critical metabolic shifts that nobody tells you about until it's too late. First, your cellular water channels, we call them aquaporins, become less responsive. Even if you are chugging water, your cells struggle to pull that hydration inside. Second, your kidneys naturally lose about 30% of their filtering capacity by age 70. This means they are less effective at flushing out excess glucose, and they struggle to concentrate your urine, causing you to lose more water than you realize. Third, and this is the most dangerous, your sense of thirst is impaired. Research shows that by age 65, your thirst response can be delayed by up to 90 minutes. You are medically dehydrated, but your brain isn't sending the signal. Fourth, many medications you might be taking, like diuretics for blood pressure, are actively pulling water out of your system, making this internal drought even worse. Here's the truth that connects this to your blood sugar. When your cells are dehydrated by just 3%, their membranes become rigid. Think of a dried-out kitchen sponge. If you pour water on a bone-dry sponge, it just sits on top. It can't absorb anything. But a moist sponge pulls in liquid instantly. Your cells work the same way. When they're dehydrated, your insulin receptors essentially shut down. Your pancreas can pump out all the insulin it wants, or you can inject it, but if the cell membrane is rigid and dry, the insulin cannot unlock the door. Your glucose stays trapped in your bloodstream, your numbers climb, and your cells are literally starving in a sea of sugar. Now let's talk about that night habit. Most seniors I treat have fallen into a pattern of defensive hydration. Because you are tired of waking up 3, 4, or 5 times a night to use the bathroom, we call this nocturia, you stop drinking fluids after 5 or 6 p.m. You think you are being practical, you think you are protecting your sleep. But here's what's actually happening. By the time you hit REM sleep, your blood has literally thickened. As your blood loses water through normal metabolic processes overnight, it becomes more concentrated. And when your blood is more concentrated, your glucose readings soar, not because you added more sugar, but because there's less solvent to hold it. Furthermore, when you wake up in this state of deep dehydration, your body perceives it as a major stressor. This triggers a release of cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol then signals your liver to dump its stored glucose into your blood to give you energy for the crisis it thinks you are having. This is the forensic explanation for the dawn phenomenon, that frustrating morning spike that happens even when you haven't eaten for 12 hours. And there's another mistake I see every day. I call it the ice water shock. Many of you wake up thirsty and reach for a glass of ice-cold water straight from the refrigerator. When that freezing water hits your stomach, your blood vessels immediately constrict to protect your core temperature. This slows your circulation, preventing insulin and glucose from reaching their destination. Even worse, the shock can trigger another cortisol spike, telling your liver to dump more sugar. You are literally drinking your way into a blood sugar spike. So how do we fix this without spending all night in the bathroom? We use a system I call the WTR protocol: water, timing, and regulation. W. Water quality and minerals. Plain water after 60 can actually slow effective blood flow by as much as 79%. Your cells don't just need H2O, they need the electrical keys to unlock the doors. These keys are minerals, specifically magnesium. Magnesium is the master spark plug of your muscular and endocrine system. Nearly 70% of seniors are deficient. Without it, your insulin receptors cannot create a permanent connection. I recommend adding trace mineral drops to your water or a tiny pinch of Himalayan pink salt and a squeeze of lemon. The minerals help the water actually enter the cells instead of just flushing through your bladder. T. Strategic timing. We need to hydrate in specific windows to prime your metabolism. Window 1. The morning flush. Immediately upon waking, drink 12 ounces of room temperature or warm water with minerals. This rehydrates your thickened blood and prevents the cortisol spike that causes that morning rise. In cases I've managed, this single step can drop morning glucose by 30 to 35 points on average. Window 2, the pre-meal prime. Drink 8 ounces exactly 30 minutes before your meals. This slows down gastric emptying, meaning your body absorbs carbohydrates more gradually. It creates a gentle slope instead of a dangerous spike. Window 3, the evening bridge. This is the fix for your night habit. Instead of stopping all fluids at 5 p.m., drink 6 to 8 ounces of mineral-rich water 2 hours before bed. This gives your body time to process the fluid so you can urinate before you go to sleep, but it provides the metabolic cushion your blood needs to stay thin and stable overnight. R. Regulation. Your body is an adaptation machine. If you have been dry for years, your kidneys are in crisis mode. When you start this protocol, you will go to the bathroom more for the first few days. Do not quit. By day 10, your kidneys will recalibrate, your bladder will learn to hold more comfortably, and the urgency will decrease. This is your body learning to trust that the drought is over. Case study: the story of Robert and Linda. I want to tell you about Robert, a 69-year-old patient of mine. Robert was a textbook patient. He weighed his carbs, he walked every night, and he took his metformin with clockwork precision. Yet his morning numbers had jumped from 120 to nearly 200. His daughter was terrified. When we looked at his habits, we found he was only drinking 2 glasses of plain water a day because he wasn't thirsty. He was also drinking a large cup of coffee every morning, which is a diuretic that pulls even more water out of your stores. We put Robert on the WTR protocol. No change in medication, no change in his diet. 10 days later, he called me, his voice sounding completely different, lighter, sharper. His morning reading was 118. He told me the mental haze he had lived with for years had finally cleared. Then there was Linda, 73. She had been fighting type 2 diabetes for 16 years and was facing the terrifying prospect of starting insulin injections. She was running on empty, drinking only 20 ounces of fluid a day. Within 3 months of restructuring her hydration and using the evening bridge window, her A1C dropped from 8.9 to 7.2. The insulin conversation was permanently off the table. She didn't need a new drug. She needed to stop starving her cells of the one thing they needed to process the drugs she was already taking. 1830 to 2100. The fruit trap, what not to consume at night. While hydration is the foundation, we must also address the healthy night snacks that are secret sugar bombs. Many of you have been told that fruit is a healthy dessert, but for a brain and a body over 60, not all fruits are created equal. Avoid fruit juices and canned fruits in syrup. When you drink juice, you get the sugar without the fiber that normally protects your brain and blood vessels from spikes. It hits your system like liquid sugar, triggering a massive insulin surge that leads to